Hello, everybody. This is Dan Forbes. I am host of the Lead with Giants community, which is a social media community focused on leadership development, and personal development. The community was launched back in December of 2012. You can find our groups and communities on LinkedIn, Google+, Facebook. We host a tweet chat on Monday evenings at 6 p.m. Central Time. Always some topic related to leadership, and also here on Blab as well as Google Hangouts. I am also the principal of Lead with Giants coaching. I'm an executive coach, and I help people become the best version of themselves in life and in business. So thanks for joining us. With me on this show, and this is a 30-minute show today, is Karen Kinsey-House. She is co-author of the book, CoActive Leadership, and her husband also are co-CEOs of CTI, which is a coach training and leadership development company. And they've trained over 50,000 people, have over 7,000 certified coaches. So welcome, Karen. Say hello.
Thank you. I'm really delighted to be here. My favorite topic, leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. And specifically to share some of the thoughts and ideas of your book. I have a copy of it. I've read it and recommend that other people do the same. So we're going to go for 30 minutes. We'll open up seats actually at any time. If anyone that is currently present wants to take a seat, come on board and do that. But let's talk about the book. Now, this isn't the first book that you've written. So why another book? What's the message that you're trying to get across with the book CoActive Leadership?
Our first book, CoActive Coaching, really laid down a foundation for our work. We started CTI in about 1992, and the book came out in 1997, and it's become an industry bestseller. We wrote CoActive Leadership because we really wanted to expand the conversation about leadership. From our observation, it's really time for a new understanding of leadership. Top-down command and control models aren't working any longer. What would? And as we have observed world events, things like Arab Spring and the Occupy Wall Street movement, things like that, it's been clear to us that we need a model that empowers leadership to move more agilely around a community. So we wrote the book CoActive Leadership to really set the stake in the ground that everyone has the capacity to lead, and that being a leader from the front is only one way that you do that. There are actually many ways to lead. You can lead from behind. You can lead from beside, as we're doing right now. So that's the purpose and the thrust of the book.
So you said that top-down leadership, really doesn't work anymore. Did it ever work?
I think that perhaps there was a phase that we went through, as we moved into the industrial revolution. We needed to organize in a specific way. And I think that there were some real advantages to having a central authority figure to look to. It's less chaotic. But as we've now moved into the technology age, and we're more global in our conversations, you and I are talking, and I think you're in Texas, and these people could be from all around the world for all we know. So I think it's just time for a different model. I also think that there's more that's being asked of individual people now. Life has gotten much more complicated and much more challenging. So there was a time when having one person decide the answers was more effective. I think now, if we're going to really face the challenges that are in front of us, we need to include everyone.
I'm wondering if education has played into that too. I mean, in other words, that it used to be that the leaders were the educated ones. They knew the answers, they knew the problems, and they knew the solution, they knew the answers. And
Right.
When we were in that industrial age, that workers came and worked on machines in order to build a specific widget, they could be completely uneducated because they could be taught to just do one little thing as a part of the process. How has changes in education impacted changes in the way we lead, you think?
Well, I have so many things to say about that. I'll try to keep it short. I think that the big change, I think that education in our country, in the United States, is really behind the curve. And what has happened is that people are beginning to self-educate. There's so much information available now. I'm having trouble with a muscle in my leg. Last night I went online and I found some exercises to help heal the muscle. I got a picture of it. I did my exercises and I felt better this morning. So I self-educated. Now that's just a small example, but if I wanted to study almost anything, there's a world of information at my fingertips. So I think we're really becoming an information available and a self-educating a world, and that education can move on to being more experientially based.
And the internet, right? So that'd be a great topic sometime. How is the internet actually changing leading? So your book, again, looks like this: CoActive Leadership. What the word there, CoActive, the hyphen. What does that word mean? How can we understand? How is CoActive different?
Another one of my favorite questions to answer. One of the problems I think that we face in the world today is that we become so results driven and outcome focused that we forget to stay grounded in our connectedness to each other, to ourselves. So CoActive is just about that. Co meaning related, connected, together. Hyphen meaning both and. Active, being in action together. Being in action together with ourselves and with each other. And when we move into action from that place, our actions are grounded and whole. And when we lose that connectedness, we become driven and can get lost in the doing of it, which is understandable, but not as productive.
So we can be disconnected from ourselves as well as being disconnected from others. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, I know. I find I get that way. I've got a lot of different roles that I play, and my to-do list can get very long sometimes. And if I don't really pay attention, the next thing I know, I'm out ahead of myself and I've lost who I am, and I'm just a little hamster running around on a wheel.
Yeah. I love the beginning of chapter 1 and the story there about no, that's not where it is. It is. Yeah, it is. So the traffic. Yeah. So this was you said it in 1989, and so there was an earthquake, and of course buildings fell down, and traffic is snarled, and somebody steps up and starts directing the traffic. It's not a policeman. It's not someone that's probably ever done that before. And you use him as an example of leadership. Can you just sort of tell us who that was?
I think it's a brilliant example of how we're defining leadership, because we don't define leadership as the person in charge. We define leadership as being responsible and respondable to your world. So I'm in the middle of the Loma Prieta earthquake. I'm walking home because all of the lights are out and all of the mass transportation was down. And of course, traffic was a complete mess. But on this particular corner, there was a homeless man who was well known for being on that corner. I mean, that was his corner. And as I walked by, traffic was really moving, and he was right in the middle of the intersection. And like he had been doing it all his life, directing traffic, And everybody else, people who'd driven by him a few days ago and not even maybe given him a second look, were absolutely leading from behind and following him and blowing him kisses. And at that particular corner, everybody was working together to make sure that things were going to flow and move. And it was just such a beautiful example for me of what happens when we are co-active, communally. We work together to resolve whatever tangle we're in, and then things can flow freely. And it's really not about who has the resume. I mean, we didn't have time to vote and see who was most qualified or who was trained to direct traffic. He just stepped out there. And he started doing it.
And who knows? Maybe he had been a traffic cop or something.
Who knows? Maybe he seemed to know what he was doing. I know I was walking by and I think, what, I would follow that guy's direction. Absolutely.
Yeah. John says we need everyday people leadership. And so this guy.
Yes. Oh, I love that word. Everyday people leadership. That's great.
Yeah. So he saw a need and he stepped up to fill the need. people in the cars were probably sitting there complaining.
Yep.
The traffic lights are out and I can't believe this is happening. I'm stuck in this traffic. Any of them could have parked their car, got out there in the middle and started leading. Of course,
Right.
he didn't have a car. That's where he lived.
Right.
At that intersection. But he saw the need and stepped out there and started leading. And then other people sort of surrendered to that leadership. They gave they gave him permission to exert authority.
They did.
Right?
They also, though, contributed by not just following him. They were actually leading from behind.
Mhm.
They were blowing him kisses. They were
Yeah.
they were also involved in having it go well. So as I walked by, I observed that it would be really hard to sit in your car and be a victim. The energy was moving too much. Too many
Right.
people were really working together,
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about Karen's new book, CoActive Leadership. Now, you mentioned a term there about being responsible for your world. Man, that sounds heavy. What does that mean?
I think it has two parts. I know it can sound heavy. I want to redefine the word responsible too. Maybe my mission in life is just to take some words and redefine them so that they're more useful.
Yeah.
Responsible, coactive, okay? First, I'm respondable. I am present and I'm awake and I'm in relationship. I'm connected, right, in the co-part, so that I can respond in the moment freshly. I don't react to the circumstances of my life. I create from them. I'm creative there. So that's the first part of responsibility. And the second part is that I understand that I'm the one who's writing the story of my life, not the circumstances, but the experience that I'm creating belongs to me. Right?
Oh, wow. Now, Blair, you need to come take a seat because this is the topic that you were on just recently with your blab about leading with authority. So Blair Glazer, I don't know if you know Blair, and
I'd love to.
Leading with authority. The subject matter was how that we are the author of our own life. Blair, if you can take a seat, come on and do that. Would love to have you on the show. So and you can see what she says. Well, her video isn't working right now, but she says, I find that leadership emerges from tragedy. I think a lot of times that there is a crucible many times that people go through that helps them to step into leadership, and that your book seems to inspire people to lead without that crucible experience, without that tragedy experience. Is that she's sort of hitting a mark there?
Well, I agree with her also. I think the big events of our life provide us with a choice. In the book, I talk about the story of two different women whose father is dying, and the circumstances are almost exactly the same. One has chosen to create a story of transformation and growth, and the other has chosen to create a story of loneliness and isolation. Now, they're both in grief, but their experiences are completely different. So we create from the circumstances of our life, or we react from them. And when I say circumstances, I mean everything. I don't mean just like, my alarm clock didn't go off this morning. Big and small.
Yeah. So many people don't think of themselves as a leader. Again, a comment over there by Blair. It'd be great if people understood their human expectation is to lead. So many people think, well, leadership is other people. It's not me. How can we expand our definition of leadership, our thinking about leadership, so that it really does broaden to include all people?
Well, I think it's really simple. We need to start holding that everyone is a leader. Everyone is a leader. Now, not everyone chooses to step into that respondability and responsibility, but everyone has that choice. Everyone. So we have to let go of leadership being something that we designate by title or that we designate by status, because I don't know by position. I don't notice that that's the best way really to determine who's a leader. And if we can let go of the idea that there are some people are leaders and some people aren't, and really stand in everyone is a leader, and leadership looks many different ways, then everyday people can begin to own it. And when that happens, I think that the problems that we face will begin to resolve themselves so much more quickly, because we're going to use the resources of everyone rather than just a couple of people.
And that resonates with me because the Lead with Giants community is all about that. It's helping people realize that leadership is a choice. Everyone is a leader, and we can each help each other become better leaders. So we have a tweet chat on Mondays, 6 p.m. Central Time. And every once in a while, I'll see a new person who will make a comment about, well, I don't feel like I'm a leader. I'm just sort of lurking and watching, what's going on in the tweet chat. And I make sure that I respond to them and say, oh, yes, you are.
Yes.
You are a leader. And the fact that you have an interest and that you showed up, please contribute, because we welcome your contribution. You have something to add to this discussion. So from the CEO suite down to the smallest cubicle, everyone is a leader. John Maxwell, who's been in this field for a long, long time, is very popular for saying that leadership is influence. And we all influence others. Parents are leaders. Students are leaders. They lead those around them. They influence those around them. Who does not have influence? Find somebody without influence, and perhaps you'll find someone who hasn't taken the responsibility of leadership. But leadership at all levels. Now, you alluded to this earlier, and your book really fleshes out the idea of these different dimensions of leadership. So acquaint us with these dimensions, because that's really what the heart of your book is about.
Yeah. I love what you've said about the Twitter chat, and I'll build off of that in talking about the dimensions, because the first dimension of CoActive leadership is leader from within. And I think it really all starts there. So we're taught from an early age to look outside of ourselves at who we should be or what we should do. And we're taught to look outside ourselves to define ourselves. So often the whole idea of I'm not a leader starts there, looking outside myself, right? And saying, well, leadership looks like that or that, so I'm not a leader. So leader from within is about really self-acceptance. This is the gift that I'm bringing to the world, whatever, shadow and light, and self-authority. I am in my own self, and I'm in my own self-authority. And from that place, I lead by example, by honoring my values, by working with my life purpose. And it doesn't matter if people follow me or not. It does have tremendous influence. Leading from within has tremendous influence because there's a clarity and a groundedness and a certainty. And then leader from in front is really what we think of most when we think of leadership, except it's connected. So leaders in front are the ones that are really willing to step to the front and say, okay, we're going, to the left. This is where we're going.
Visible. They're very visible, right?
They're very visible, but they're also really connected. We're going to the front. How about that? What do you see here? So that it's a relational thing rather than a transactional thing. And I think we have tons of examples of leaders in front who are not connected to people. And that's, I think, where it goes really wrong. It's a powerful dimension, but only when it's connected with other people.
Well, that sounds like some politicians we could name, around the world, right? Who
maybe one or two.
they have the position, perhaps, but maybe they're disconnected. Okay.
Right, and disconnected from what's needed, like really. So it becomes small and immature.
Okay, so you have leading from within, leading from the front. Okay, what else?
Now we're going to drop back to leader from behind. Okay. So leaders from behind are those that are those times when we would support the endeavor. So in my example of the man directing traffic,
it's not being pushy. It's not pushing from behind. Okay.
No, it's not. It's not pushy. Right. That's leading from the. That's leading from the front, pretending you're leading from behind. That's not so good.
Okay.
It's absolutely giving yourself to the endeavor. So in your Twitter chat room, everyone who's on that chat is either a participant and a passenger, or they're leading from behind. They're wanting to contribute, feeling how to say, what's needed. How's this going to how can I contribute to have it go well? Yeah. My man on the street corner had a whole bunch of leaders from behind. Yes, they were passengers in their car, but they were also really contributing about how to have it go well. Leader from behind.
Yeah.
Leader from behind is really about partnership. and co-leadership. It's what we're doing on the call today. I really feel us dancing together.
Mm-hmm.
You're providing some ideas, I'm responding, I have something else. So it's not like it's just your turn, my turn. We're creating this together.
Right.
And that permeates all areas of our life. I think one really great example of leader beside is parenting. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I would imagine parenting a child, you would need to be co-leaders and lead from beside all the time.
Yeah, unless they're 3 years old, and then the child definitely wants to be the leader. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Right. Right.
And
how do you drop and lead beside with your child then? Not just lead in front all the time and tell them what to do, but how do you partner with them?
Well,
even though they're 3.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the things is you have to answer their question, which they are famous at asking when they're at that age, and that is why.
Why?
and that's a good habit to do, at any age. Answer the question why. And when you focus on the why, and even in corporate life, if you help your employees, you help people understand the why of their job, the why of the company, then that makes them want to be involved. So we can really learn some great lessons from those 3 and 4-year-olds that are constantly asking why. And then John mentions the 5 whys method. Why is that important to you?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that important to you? And you keep asking that 5 times, and you get down to some of the nitty gritty. Did we cover all the dimensions? No, there's one left.
There's one more.
Okay.
Which is CoActive Leader from the Field. And this can feel esoteric, but actually it's very pragmatic. I'll start here. Science has discovered dark matter. And dark matter, the basic foundation of dark matter is that about 90% of what is unknown. Like we only really know a little bit about what exists all around us. So Leader from the Field is about using instinct and intuition and imagination to tap into this energetic field that's actually not known, but can give us insights.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my favorite examples of
let's see, Karen, you froze up there for a second. So while we're waiting for her to unfreeze, is there anybody that would like to take a seat that maybe you have a question for Karen that you would like to ask? We've got about
Leader
5 or 6 more minutes in the show, and then we'll finish up. So you froze up there, Karen. So I have no idea what you said. Well,
it was the energetic field coming through, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's okay. So I was asking if anybody wanted to come on and take a seat and ask you a question. So we'll see if somebody wants to do that. You've sort of gone into a little spinning circle right now. You might need to close down your browser and come back in, Karen. That happens. So we've been talking with co-author Karen Kinsey-House, and her book, CoActive Leadership. It's not a difficult read, so it's not War and Peace, but it's a good book about leadership, and love how she describes the 5 dimensions of leadership. And I think now that we just run into some technical difficulties, we'll probably just close the show. You can connect with her. You can see her Twitter handle that's there. Certainly think about getting the book as well. But I want to thank everyone for just showing up for this interview today. This is an initiative of the Lead with Giants community. I'm Dan Forbes. I'm the host. Invite you to join me at noon Central Time today, so 1 hour from now, for Ask an Executive Coach Anything. So I'll have 2 other coaches with me taking seats, and we'll be fielding questions that people have. And also we'll be talking about coaching. So if you have a question for a coach, come on and join us, and you'll be able to ask your question. Or if you have an interest in coaching and learning more about coaching, also join us for that. So thank you, everybody. And I'm going to end the broadcast right now. Feel free to visit leadwithgiants.com and Lead with Giants Coaching.